Hey friends, it's been a bit since I recorded a video or posted a video. I do have a backup of some videos to post on various topics. I have not been feeling amazing. If you are a newsletter subscriber, which is free, subscribe below. You know that. It's been a rough year. I have some videos up from last fall about some EMF stuff. It's still an issue for me. And of course, the world is not getting healthier. Unfortunately, it's not getting less toxic. And yeah, I knew this was going to happen, but it's been very challenging for me, honestly. And with the direction the internet is going, sometimes I wonder how much energy I should put into that. But I know you guys need the information, so I'm doing what I can. Now, we do have Patreon and we have Substack, and since my time online is so limited, I had questions sort of closed except for consultations there for a while, and then I opened it up to questions from Patreon and Substack subscribers, paid subscribers, and I heard from, I think, 4 people. We don't have a lot of supporters, which is fine. I appreciate you guys that do support, and if you're unable to financially support, I still appreciate you. Thank you for being here. I think I heard from maybe 4 people, and it was mostly excitement, but then I didn't get a question. So I think I have just 2 questions that I got, and one of them is on generators. Another is, would I buy a house tinted for termites, which was actually a question that came in through Instagram. Also, I want to address cars, latex-free, non-toxic MCS cars. Also, I want to address my mini PC, because I got a question about that. And then also I want to discuss pets a little bit. Unfortunately, the world in which we're living in, when it comes to information online, most of what you're going to find online these days is not actual information. It's propaganda from one source or another. Unfortunately, a lot of articles that you find online are derived from content mills. Some of them are written by AI, and AI straight up lies. I did mess around with it a little bit on eBay, because eBay has a tool for writing your descriptions. I tried it last year, I believe, and it legit made stuff up. I kid you not. So no, you gotta be really careful about these sorts of things. So I'm doing the best I can. Thank you all for continuing to be subscribers. I appreciate any kind of sharing that you can do. Thanks so much. Okay, and likes and comments, of course, help as well. But as you might imagine, our content has been actively hammered online. It really started in 2019 when Facebook got mad at me for sharing a couple of studies hosted on PubMed. How dare I? And then 2020, 2021, and since then, it's just gotten worse and worse as far as the information getting out there. So, without further ado, let's address some questions, or some things I want to talk about and questions. Before I continue, I don't want to forget this. This book here, The Natural Cat, The Comprehensive Guide to Optimum Care. It's by Anitra Frazier. This is no longer in print. You can get it on eBay. I'll link to it on eBay and Amazon if it's up there. You can get it used. If you have a cat, you need this book. Now, some of it is just a little bit hippy-dippy, especially in the beginning, I gotta say. But this book here, this is how my cat continues to be my cat. I mean, honestly, Kitty, she's only 6 years old. 6 years old? 6 years old. So she's not old, but she gets hit by the same stuff that I do. EMFs and chemicals. And I don't know if you've been outside lately looking out in the sky, but it's not so great. And of course, wildfire smoke is in the picture again, as anticipated here in the United States. So there's that. And everything else, obviously. It's a tough world to live in. It really is a tough world to live in. So you need this book if you got a cat. Some of it could probably be applied to dogs as well, but be careful because there are some things that dogs can't have that cats can, and vice versa. So you can't always translate that information across species. And also, of course, every animal is different, just like every human is different. There's no one size fits all for anything. Cars. I really wanted to address this. I've been intending to address this for a while. I get this question regularly about vehicles. Now, I already have an article up, a pretty extensive article about non-native EMFs, about low EMF vehicles, and I will link to that below. So that's already up. There's the EMF portion. As far as those who are chemically sensitive or want to avoid chemicals as much as possible, as well as those who have a latex allergy. Well, in 2016, 2017, I did a really deep dive into vehicles. I really wanted the safest vehicle for me, and I'm chemically sensitive, and I have a severe latex allergy. So I contacted the major car companies. I didn't contact Tesla, but I contacted the major car companies, and much of the information I got was just, it didn't make any sense. And mostly I just didn't get any information at all, and they just kept transferring me around and around, and I tried online contact and I tried phone calls. The one company that I did get somewhere with was Honda. Thank you, Honda. What I eventually learned, and some of you probably already know this is probably not news to you, is that most car manufacturers use whatever they can get their hands on. And these days, with tariff stuff and countries being mad at each other and I don't know, who knows what, that's probably even worse as far as car manufacturers just using whatever they can get. And thus, because, for example, let's say you have a Honda CR-V. You've got one here, one here, one here. This could have seats from company A. This could have seats from company B. This could have seats from company C. And you wouldn't know. And so I really appreciated that information from them. And I said, well, is there any way to trace the specifics back? To say, well, this part came from this company. And they said the only way you could do that is if you have the actual part and it says that information on the part. So basically, if you are really wanting information on a vehicle as to the toxicity or latex content, you're kind of up a creek. There was, I want to say it was a Ford Focus years ago, not available here in the US though. I think it was in the UK where they had a vehicle. I don't remember if it was like a low tox vehicle or if it was safe from a latex allergy perspective. I don't remember which it was. But I haven't heard anything about that for quite some time. So I don't know if that's still the case or not. For that specific, but I don't think they did it for long, if I remember right. It was just a year or two or something like that. I don't know. I didn't look that much into it because it was irrelevant to me when I saw that information. But as far as cars that are found to be tolerable, when it comes to a chemical standpoint, typically leather is better if you're buying a used car, because the upholstery tends to really absorb scents and chemicals and everything more so than leather seats. Leather seats, from a latex allergy perspective, can be basically coddled together using latex. However, it also seems to be better because it doesn't have the off-gassing of the foam, which almost always has natural rubber latex in it. As far as brands that are often most tolerable, both from chemical sensitivity and from latex allergy, Ford and Honda. I eventually got a Honda CRV. I believe it was a 2014, if I remember correctly. We sold it a few years ago or so because I haven't left our property since June of 2019. I kid you not a joke, because this world has only grown more and more toxic, and I just can't tolerate it. I just can't tolerate it. Heart attack symptoms, hypoxia, I can't breathe. The amount of chemicals that people are using these days is unbelievable. The one thing that you do want to do if you have a vehicle and you take it to a mechanic is to be sure that they don't add fragrance, because a lot of them add that toxic fragrance. And fragrance, of course, is unstudied, so it's totally safe. Yay! Just like most things today, just like most building materials today, the world has not grown less toxic, it's grown only more toxic. So that's a bit of an overview on cars. I know that that's not something that I can say, here's the right car for you if you're chemically sensitive or have a latex allergy, because I just can't. But I can tell you, most people have the most luck, it seems, with Ford and Honda. And if mold is a concern for you, if you find mold in your car, I've got an article up on, or if it gets contaminated with mycotoxins, which sometimes happens with what Dave does for a living partially. He does handyman services. If you're in southern Indiana or central Indiana, hey, give us a call. Mowing and landscaping. Or give him a call. Be sure to leave a message. If you do call, send him a text, send us an email. We got a contact us form, all that sort of information. But we have had Ford and of course the one Honda CRV, and I've done well with them. Now the current truck that Dave has is a 2004 and it does not have leather seats in it, but when we've gotten with other vehicles, we've gotten leather seats and it's been much more tolerable for me. So both from a chemical standpoint and from a latex allergy standpoint. So that's something to consider, but you can also swap out the seats. But it just seems to be better in that regard. And no, there are no latex-free tires. And yes, I'm 100% certain. All right. Would I buy a house treated for termites? That came in on Instagram. So the question for me, the concern, and Dave actually responded to this, the concern for us is not termites, because termites are a symptom. Termites are not the problem. Termites only come in when there's wood that's rotting or rotten. So they're a symptom, they're not the root cause. So you need to find out what the root cause was and treat the root cause. Treat the root cause and typically the symptoms go away. But would I buy a house tented for termites? And the phone is ringing, so I've got to pause this and I'll have to combine it with it. I'll have to do video editing. Yay! Okay. Of course, we have a landline broadband phone, and most of the calls that come in are scam, spam, and that was just another one. Would I buy a house that has been tented for termites? It depends on what the treatment was. You have to find that out, because there are some treatments that are more natural. There are some companies out there that do offer more natural treatments. So I don't know. It depends on what was used. There are multiple factors to consider when you're purchasing a home. There's not just one question to ask here. So that's more of a consultation issue. But I certainly would not tent the home. And most likely what was used was pretty bad. Most likely. But you never know. There are other factors as well. I mean, budget. Are there other options for you? Do you have other options? You know, so nothing's one size fits all, and typically with a question like that, there are other things to consider as well. Just like there's no one size fits all flooring for everyone. You know, everyone's got different factors, different things that they consider as far as their flooring. All of these other things. No one size fits all anything. Mini PC, I had a question come in asking if I'm still using the same mini PC. I am. I think we got that mini PC in 2020. Could have been 2019. I don't remember what we paid for it. But I am still using it. It has had some hiccups this year. And so I ordered, I think it's I want to say B-Link brand. I did some research. And I try to have a backup for almost everything that we have. I think it's B-Link. I will link to it below. I did order it on Amazon. I want to say it was I paid $170, but I just looked and it's listed on Amazon now for $150 or $160. I thought that was a really good deal. I haven't installed it or whatever yet. I haven't tried it yet, so I can't speak on it from an EMF perspective. I can't speak on it as to how it's going yet, but I will try to at least update that in the newsletter when I do try it. It's been almost a month now since I've had it here, so I'm going to be outside of the return window for Amazon if it's a problem, but doing the best I can, guys. It is a tough world. You know, a lot of people are sick, and the roadkill Dave sees on the road, I mean, because we live in a wooded area where there are animals, but there are hawks getting hit now because they're just unable to move as quickly because they're sick too. You know, just, it's a tough world to live in. I don't even know how many times a week Dave and I say that to each other. It's a tough world to live in. All right, so they're about the mini PC. Generator. All right, so this is a question that I actually have a good deal of background for in regards to the person asking the question, because this has been a relatively long time consultation client on and off. Projects take time to plan, projects take time to implement. So, unfortunately, I have very little personal experience with generators. And honestly, so EMFs I understand very well, generally speaking. I don't consider myself an expert on anything except for my body and to a lesser extent Dave's body, and then my cat's body. Sometimes my chickens. And my experience. You know, I'm watching and we're seeing the trees dying. And observing it, you know, my experience. I'm an expert on my experience. But generators, not so much. So the question is basically, so this is someone who is developing potentially a homestead, but at least wants to get out of Dodge and has the property and has got a garage built and is building like a non-EMF, like not off-grid, no electricity or anything, small house or building or whatever, and then later planning an on-grid building and, you know, that sort of thing. And she sees where we're going as a society, which is not good. I mean, it's good to see it, but it's not good. We're not headed in a good direction. So there's a reason why there are so many people leaving cities in recent years and going towards more independent and off-grid sort of things. It's not because society is getting better. It's not because the world is getting better. And so it's a concern in regards to sort of keeping the generator hidden, which I totally validate. I don't know of any generators that would be quiet enough for that, number one. And number two, as far as I know, you never want to have a generator in an enclosed space. So for example, we do have a generator here that we've never hooked up. I don't even know if it works. I think it's actually listed on eBay. And if things happen and we need to use it, then we do have a trailer that Dave mentioned. We could put it in the trailer, leave the trailer open so that it had shelter. But you, as far as I know, you don't want to put a generator, propane generator or anything. What we have isn't a propane, but as far as I know, you don't want to put any gas-powered generators in an enclosed space, like a garage or whatever. So it would need to be outside, as far as I know. And this is as far as I know. I tell you when I don't know things. So there's that. But it's not going to be... I know that there are some that are marketed as being quiet. But are they really that quiet? I mean, when you look at the decibel... the published decibel rating for them, your neighbors are going to hear it if it's running. And they're going to see it most likely, unless you have it in an enclosed space, which as far as I know is a really bad idea. It's like running a car in the garage when the garage is closed. It doesn't sound like a good idea to me to run it in an enclosed space. So, you know, we're seeing these blackouts like in Spain, and I know Pennsylvania was out, a week? Parts of Pennsylvania didn't have power. So power outages are happening. And then of course Texas, a couple of years ago, had the big time power outages. And if you pay any attention at all, just a little bit, to the news, they're constantly talking about blackouts and power outages and brownouts and how the grid is so insecure and all of these things. And we've got them, what was that? I think it was a Robert De Niro movie, if I remember right, when the power went out. And we're just constantly being told that power's going to go out. So yes, that's wise to consider that. And I do expect a major power outage in the next couple of years, and I'm not going to go into why. But there are resources I would recommend checking out. Like if I was looking for a generator and I wanted some recommendations, here's where I would go. And I like to share these sorts of things with you so that you can do your own research, because I know a lot of you do, and that's great. I encourage that. I would look on Facebook for RV groups, because RV people, I would also look at off-grid groups, and the same with Reddit. So, for those. One person that I do listen to now and then, I don't listen to many people online, is Rain Country Homestead. She seems reasonable. Also, Marjorie Wildcraft. She has solid information online. I don't know if these people have any information about generators online, but these are people who I personally listen to now and then. I would also look at Layman's. Layman's sells Amish stuff, and I would just look at their website and see what they have. And because they sell stuff specifically for Amish, and there are Amish who have generators, and they have refrigerators that run on their generator for their store and those sorts of things. So she said she's already planning to have propane on the site regardless. So a propane generator is what she's looking at. I have not personally heard positive things about propane-based freezers, because she wants the generator for a freezer. I have not heard good things about them. I've heard that they're very inefficient and they're going to run you out of propane very quickly. That is what but again, I don't have personal experience here. But I haven't heard very much about the combination freezers that run on electricity and propane. I don't know about efficiency for those. Yeah. So, And of course, propane is bothersome for a lot of people, chemically speaking. But if it were me personally, chest freezers are more energy efficient, simply just because how they are set up. And so I probably would, if I were her and had the financial resources, I probably would get a propane generator, as well as a chest RV freezer, which it would be electric or propane, so that you could switch it. So one brand that I have heard good things about is Generac brand, but I don't know that they have a dual. No, wait, sorry. It's not a freezer. Generac brand generators. I have heard good things about them, and people around here have them. Some people in our area lose electricity on the regular just because they only have one electricity line coming into their area. We have lived in areas like that before, where there's, maybe 20 houses in an area, and it all comes through one electric line, and that electric line often goes down. It's not the problem here where we're at. So, but I also rely on a freezer a lot. I store my wild blackberries in the freezer, I store my pesto in the freezer, and I order raw cheese in bulk from Azure to save money, and I store that in the freezer as well. So I've got both financial and time and labor resources tied up in the freezer as well. But it's not a huge freezer, so do your best, let God cover the rest, just as with anything else in life. So we have covered now generators, and would I buy a house tinted for termites, cars, the mini PC, and pets. And that is all for today. Thank you so much for being here, you guys. Hang in there. I know it's tough. I know if you look at the news, things are just nuts, but is there anything new with that? There's not much new with that. So hang in there. Again, I feel really bad for a lot of you, because I know a lot of you are struggling physically, just as I am. So take care. Until next time, non-toxic out.